Welcome back to the Post Geekout Reaction, the show where we used to review movies back when they were movies, but instead now we just binge watch TV shows. I'm Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And it's time for Animaniacs. It's so weird how much of that theme song I remembered when it started playing again in here. I am glad they changed it up a little bit though.
Yeah, well they kind of had to.
They kind of had to because there's a giant chunk of the original theme song dedicated to the old cast, which is not there anymore. But yeah, we were talking about the Animaniacs reboot, and the first thing that I have to say is, it's Animaniacs.
Yep.
Animaniacs was a very interesting show. It was, nothing else out there was really like that. And that was really true for pretty much all of the Steven Spielberg produced animated series from back in the 90s. You know, that, Freakazoid, Tiny Toons. Nothing else was really like those shows, and we haven't really had anything quite like those shows since then. And when Animaniacs came back around, I was like, oh, they are not going to be able to recapture the old magic. They kind of recaptured the old magic. I'm honestly wondering how many of the old writers still stuck around for this show.
And they also brought back the original voice cast.
Which, wow, they do a lot of times when you bring back an older voice actor, you know, it's been 20 years since they did, their voice, it doesn't quite match up. I mean, like, listen to any of the people on The Simpsons. They've been working nonstop for 20 years, and you listen to them now, it's like, oh, you're not, oh, you don't quite match up like you used to. Yeah, wow, it is crazy how these guys still sound exactly like they did back then. I mean, it's Rob Paulson as Yakko and Tress MacNeille as Dot. Those two are legends in voice acting. They have continuously worked nonstop since then. I don't remember the voice actor who plays Wacko, though, but I don't think he's done nearly as much stuff as the other two. But it was great getting to hear all of them. Speaking of Wacko, I remember when I was a kid, I always kind of thought of Wacko as being like the silent one. Cause I remember,
like just the silent, silly one?
Yeah, like I remember him like out of the Marx Brothers kind of lineup that they have. I always thought of him as being like Harpo, like the one who didn't really talk all that much. He was more about visual gags.
Which, by the way, they did dress up as the Marx Brothers in the Halloween special. And
that was great, and I love that it was like Wacko was Harpo and Yakko was Groucho. Yeah, I thought that was really good. But this season, it feels like they came in here and went, well, we want to give Wacko way more to do. And yeah, I remember back when there was like a Wacko-centric episode in the old one. I was like, oh my god, this is a special one because it means Wacko will finally get to talk in this episode. No, he gets to talk and he's has like equal parts with everybody else in all these. And
it was like, I guess Wacko didn't talk as much, but I definitely do remember him talking.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying he was silent, but I'm just saying, like, compared to Dot and Yakko, I remember him not talking nearly as much. I remember there were like some episodes, or at least not episodes, but like skits where he would go almost the entire episode with like one line or something. And here it definitely feels like he has way more to do. But when it comes to the sense of humor in here, it is definitely Animaniacs. And I've seen people on the internet complaining about this, saying like, oh, it's way too random. That's Animaniacs.
Yeah, it's like they actually like mentioned that in the theme song, and I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's the other thing that they mentioned in the theme song. The one that really got me that I was so happy they mentioned is they mentioned the trolls will say we're so passé, but we did meta first. And I was like, wow, they called it! Because so many trolls have been online saying this isn't the Animaniacs. The Animaniacs, they have an agenda in this, and they're being too political. It's like, dude, the old Animaniacs, the old Animaniacs were very topical, and that meant that they would be political at times. In fact, they were pretty often political. Hell, Bill Clinton Plays the Sax was in their opening credits. Like, it was in their theme song, they mentioned Bill Clinton back then. And I think that a lot of the people who are upset that the Animaniacs are political now, are, quote, political now, they're like, well, they're upset because they're making fun of Trump, and it's like, well, yeah, he's been the president for the past couple of years. Bill Clinton was the president back then, and they made fun of Bill Clinton all the time, and that's like, man, if your guy is in office, they get made fun of. But also the Animaniacs, they were just topical. The Animaniacs were always topical, but a lot of times that would have to do with like pop culture, that would have to do with just other things going on in the news. But now, we are far more politically aware. We are far more politically active as a culture. So if the Animaniacs want to be as topical as they used to be, they do need to mention political issues way more. So it's like they kind of had to be in order to still be Animaniacs.
So, like, I just kind of, like, missed that how they were, like, made fun of pop culture, but I'm sure, like, they'll do more of that in the second season, I'm sure. Like, most of the episodes in the first season, they were, like, poking fun of, like, politics and stuff, I've noticed.
Again, I do kind of feel like that's just because our focus as a culture is more on politics than it was back then. And the Animaniacs, it isn't so much about making fun of just pop culture, it's about pointing fun at culture in general. And yeah, we are, as a culture, the percentage in which we looked at pop culture back then versus what we looked at politics, it's kind of shifted around now. So it's like, if the Animaniacs want to talk about, modern day society and culture as much, they would talk about politics. But again, I have to come in here and just reiterate, it's not like they didn't talk about politics in the original. They did all the time. I mean, I remember in their Christmas special, one of the best lines was when they were walking through the woods, and Wacko takes out the map and goes, "Oh, according to this, it looks like we're lost." And then Yakko snatches it away and goes, "Wacko, this is a flyer for the Republican Party." "I know, I think as a country we've lost our way." And I was like, wow! Just not holding anything back then. But yeah, I mean, they did this stuff all the time back then. So yeah, let's keep talking about the rest of it. As we said, I think that Yakko, Wacko, Dot, they're all exactly the same. The only thing that I can really point out as being different is I think Wacko has more lines, but they're still the same characters. I think the level of wit in here is exactly the same. But I will say, this isn't me just, giving this thing non-stop praise. I'm just saying it's Animaniacs. Even when I was a kid, I had some problems with Animaniacs. All my problems when I was a kid, they're still around here in this. Like when I was a kid, I know everybody talks about how much they love the songs. I know so many people have complained in this season saying the songs aren't as good as they used to be. I was never the biggest fan of the songs. And I think a lot of the people who are saying, well, the songs aren't as good this season as they used to be, I think you're only remembering like 3, maybe 4 tops of the old songs. You don't remember almost every episode had a song, and believe me, they were not all memorable. You're all just remembering the state capitals, the countries of the world, and the president's song. Like, that's all you're remembering. I don't think you're remembering all the other ones that was like, oh yeah, this is just killing 5 minutes here. All right, fine, let's go.
Yeah, there were definitely like a lot of skits like that in both the original and the reboot of the Animaniacs.
Yes, there were definitely like a lot of the songs that's like, okay, we don't need this right now. And that's still, I felt that way when I was a kid. I still feel that same way right now. But again, a lot of people are pointing at the songs in here saying, well, they're, none of them are good. This is coming from someone who didn't even like the song portions of Animaniacs. I will disagree with that. I do think there are good songs in here. I think the Zit song was great. I love the Zit song. But there's another one, the First Lady song.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one. What was the other one that I really enjoyed? I actually also thought the like Everything Is Cute song. I thought that one was pretty enjoyable. But let's see. Yeah, as I said, I was never the biggest fan of the old songs. I do think that they did have the best track record. It's just that after all these years, you only remember the good ones. I think the track record is about the same here in this one. Also, yes, the show is still very random. And even when I was a kid, I would have problems with how random it was. And as an adult, I have a little bit more problems with it because I do want a little bit more structure, but I'm looking at this going like, it's not like it's any different. It's exactly the same.
It's like you said, it's Animaniacs.
Yeah, there's that one in which they were the Greek gods, and it was the Odyssey, and the thing ends with them just randomly sending Odysseus to the island of the Cyclops, and the Cyclops, for no reason at all, is Donald Trump. And I looked at that and I went, okay, that's too random. There's no reason for them to do that. But then I stopped and I remembered the old Animaniacs. I was like, they would have just random celebrity guest stars. Well, not celebrity guest stars.
But like celebrity parodies.
Parodies, yeah. They would have random celebrity parodies. in just random situations for no reason at all in the old Animaniacs. That's exactly what they're doing here. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you can complain, but don't say it's not what Animaniacs was. This is what Animaniacs was. The only thing that I can really point as being like different is I do think the animation style on not even the Warners themselves. I think when it comes to the Warners, I think their animation is still fantastic. But in my opinion, when it comes to just like the random humans, they all seem to be like a smidge more exaggerated and in kind of weird ways. Like there's a lot more focus on butts, I've noticed. Like, again, maybe I blocked that one out of my memory. But this season, it seemed like they went for the butt joke a lot when it came to like the hyper exaggerated caricatures of human beings that they drew in here. But maybe that's just me. That's one of the only things that I can point to this season and go like, yeah, it's not quite as good as it used to be. I don't know.
I kind of feel like they did something like that back in on their original run, because I remember Animaniacs having some inappropriate jokes.
I'm trying to. Well, I do remember them having some inappropriate jokes. But I'm thinking like visually when it comes to the character designs of the people, like, yeah, it's just kind of like, it just felt kind of weird to me. But then again, I could just be forgetting them, because I do remember a lot of times they would go with exaggerations, especially of celebrities. But yeah, it's just like of like the random humans now. I'm like, they feel more exaggerated than they ever used to be. Let's go ahead and talk about one thing that I know a lot of people are definitely bringing up, which is the lack of the returning characters. Because in the old Animaniacs, this might as well have been Pinky and the Brain this season. Because I think the Pinky and the Brain almost have equal screen time with them.
Like, that's the only other, like, remaining
That was the only one that they brought back, yeah, because in the old one, they had Pinky and the Brain, but they also had Button and Mindy, they had Slappy Squirrel, they had the Good Feathers, they had those two hippos, I can't remember the name of.
Hippos? That's like what they were named, but...
Something like that, yeah. And then there was, like, a bunch of other ones that didn't get nearly as much attention. Oh, yeah, Chicken Boo. And this season, it's only Pinky and the Brain, but they also, it's only Pinky and the Brain, but they did have that one bit, they did have that one skit in which they did kind of like give an explanation for why the other characters aren't there. And apparently, from what I understand, the showrunner said if we do get a season 2, we're going to bring them all back, all those supporting characters. This is going to be one of my unpopular opinions on this. I don't think you need to bring everyone back. I know that a lot of people out there have their favorites. I know that no matter what character it was, it's going to be somebody's favorite out there. But when it came to the Animaniacs, my favorites were always Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain. And I kind of got that. Everybody else, like every now and again I like Slappy Squirrel, every now and again I like Button and Mindy and Chicken Boo, but I always kind of like preferred when they just stuck with the Animaniacs or the Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah, like the main group, basically.
Yeah, those main two and all the other ones. There'd be a lot of times in which they would have a skit with them and I'd be like, oh.
I mean, there's a whole reason why Pinky and the Brain got its own TV show.
Yeah. But yeah, there would be a lot of times in the old one in which they would go to one of their runner-up, one of their supporting characters. And even if I enjoyed it, I would be like, yeah, but I would enjoy Pinky and the Brain or an Animaniacs.
It's like, I understand that they use the, like, extra characters to, like, pad out more timing and everything, which this season needed, so,
Oh, it needed more timing, you think?
It's like, how should I explain it? It's like...
Do you think they had to stretch a lot of the skits a little too long?
Some of it, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I thought they did a pretty decent job myself.
Well, yeah, it's like, I guess what I wanted to say is, like, more variety is...
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, yes. Okay.
Yes, because they did they did well with the timing and everything, but it's like, more variety.
I can agree with you on that. Even if I am not really looking forward to the idea of bringing some of those old supporting characters back, I would like a little bit more random skits in here, a little bit more like one-off skits. Mm-hmm. Like there was that one, the Bump in the Night one that they did on Halloween. I thought that was pretty good. That was a good little,
like I noticed that they would do like random skits along with Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain that does not bring back the original, and it's like I can tell they were new and different because like the outlines were colored.
Oh, that one, what was it, the alien who gets kidnapped by the little kid? Yeah, that was a weird art style compared to everything else in here. Not bad, but just very different.
It's like, I think that's like their way of saying, this is something new, this is not part of the original Animaniacs, we're just experimenting and seeing what sticks, basically.
And it was kind of weird to me that they did that one alien one, because that definitely felt like it was meant to be a recurring character, and never came back. But then there was that other one, the incredible gnome who lives inside someone's mouth.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a really good one-time only thing. Like, this is funny, but oh man, will it never work again. Do not bring this back. This is one of those gags that really only hits one time, and if you keep bringing it back, it's gonna get old fast. But yeah, I would have liked a few more, like, just, like, little random bits. Maybe, like, you know, I don't want to use the term artsy, but, like, experimental.
Yes.
A little bit more experimental stuff in here.
Like, the 90s, like, cartoons in the 90s were very experimental.
Very much
so.
And not even experimental as in, like, oh, yes, we're artistic geniuses and no one understands. It was experimental as, like, screw it, man, throw everything at the wall, let's just see what works. Yeah, I would kind of dig a few more things like that. Let's see.
Do you want to talk about Pinky and the Brain now?
Let's talk about Pinky and the Brain, yeah. I gotta say, I really did like the Animaniacs in here, but I think Pinky and the Brain might have been the MVP of this. Then again, I might only be saying that because Pinky and the Brain, they were one skit every single episode. The Animaniacs got 2 skits every single episode.
Like, also, like, Pinky and the Brain has more of, like, a story structure than Animaniacs.
You're right.
Which I know is something you enjoy. It's
I do. So yeah, that could have been it as well. Yeah, I actually really was impressed with Pinky and the Brain this season, and I can't even really put my finger on why I was so impressed, because I don't want to say, well, it was more Pinky and the Brain, because it was more Pinky and the Brain, but I gotta look at that and be like, well, yeah, but why did I enjoy it? Like, did I like it more than I liked the old Pinky and the Brain? I can't really say. I think maybe it was just, yeah, it's kind of just nice to have Pinky and the Brain back again. And again, it's the big compliment I gotta give this entire season. It is so crazy to me that, you know, Animaniacs has not been around for 22 years. I have no idea who from the old writer staff they might have kept around, because I know the old showrunner, the old creator of the show, he was not involved in this in any way, and he didn't even know that they were doing this until it was already a done deal, which really sucks. But yeah, it is just weird to me how I think most of the writers in here, and at least a lot of the directors, because I actually recognize some of the directors when they popped up in here. I know a lot of them definitely did not work on the old show. It's just wild to me that they came in here and, yeah, you kind of nailed it. You kind of just, that's Pinky and the Brain, that's Animaniacs, all right. I will say, when it comes to Pinky and the Brain, I do really hope that they get a season 2, because it feels like they're definitely setting up more of, like, recurring characters.
Oh, yeah, like, especially Julia.
Julia was the one I was thinking of. Which, the weird thing about Julia is that the whole point of her character is that she's this female mouse that also gets hyper-intelligence. And I remember in the old Pinky and the Brain, they did have an episode like that, where there was a female mouse that got hyper-intelligence, and it was a love story between her and Brain, and then Brain has to break up with her because he realizes that she's now smarter than him, and he has to take over the world before she does. And she never came back around, and now they've got this character in there, and I'm like, oh, especially the exact same character. But I did definitely like her.
Yeah. It's like, I kind of felt like she wants to prevent Brain from taking over the world.
That's why I like more than what they do with that old character that I was referring to, is that it looks like, a foil. I like this, you know, some kind of an adversary that can be a recurring character for them. I enjoy that idea.
Yeah, it's like, speaking of, like, Brain's rivals, I'm thinking of Snowball the hamster.
Yes! Oh, man! I forgot Snowball! That would be a great character to bring back. Because I'm trying to remember, I know that the Brain is supposed to be Orson Welles. That is what he's parodying. Mm-hmm. Snowball was parodying someone else too, and I can't remember what it was. I can definitely remember the image of Snowball in my head. I can't remember who they were parodying, though. But yeah, I thought that, speaking of the parodies in here, They did not do nearly as many as they did in the old season, but I definitely like the ones they did, like the Halloween one. I really like that whole Pennywise bit, because the thing that you want to see the Animaniacs do is they're essentially modern day Bugs Bunny. They're the person that goes around and they just mess with these famous figures, because that's what Bugs Bunny used to do back in the old cartoons. They would have celebrity guests on there all the time. Yep, sorry, celebrity parodies. I don't know why I keep saying guests. Yeah.
Well,
or
like in some cartoons, they actually would have like they would use the actual celebrities.
Oh wow, okay. But yeah, they would also have like political figures and stuff on there, and yeah, Bugs would just mess with them the whole time. That's what the Animaniacs do all the time in here, and I absolutely love that Pennywise one, because, or Nickelwise as they called him. Yeah, because when you think about like someone who would be like this perfect character for the Animaniacs to just mess with, it's the scary ghost clown who like scares children. It's like, yeah, that's a great character for them to mess with. Also, this is so weird to me. I had to look this up afterwards, but I know that in the It reboot, Pennywise was played by Bill Skarsgård, and he is the son of Stellan Skarsgård, and I constantly confuse Stellan Skarsgård for Peter Stormare. I constantly confuse those two. Nickelwise was voiced by Peter Stormare, and the entire episode I kept going, oh, that's cool, they got Stellan Skarsgård to come on here. Because his son played Pennywise in the new one, so they got him to come on and play the parody of him. And that's really smart. And then it turns out that they just got the voice actor who I constantly he's not even a voice actor, he's just a regular actor who I constantly confused for Stellan Skarsgård. It was a very weird experience. The guy who I think is this guy, I mixed them up in my head, but would have made more sense for them to get the guy I thought he was, because then he'd be the father of the guy who plays him. It was a very weird back and forth going on in my mind during that whole entire thing. Although I will say, that was really weird that they got Peter Stormare to come in there, because the entire time that I thought was Stellan Skarsgård, I was like, that's great that they got this celebrity guest to come in here and play this, because his son plays in the new one. And then after I found out, no, it was not Stellan Skarsgård, it was Peter Stormare, I just looked at it and went, what the hell did you get Peter Stormare to play him in this? That's a very weird casting choice in this. Yeah, that was just very odd to me. But yeah, I thought that the entire Halloween episode I thought was fantastic. Although, weird thing we have to point out, why did they upload all these episodes at once? This is Hulu. Hulu is not known for uploading all the things at once. That's a Netflix move.
It's like maybe they realized that people are now binge watching shows, so they're like, okay, let's just slap everything up all at the same time so they can binge watch, because that's the big thing now.
It's something I would like to have like an official answer on, because when you see that Halloween episode pop up and you realize Halloween episode was episode 11 and this was a 13 episode run, and when you think about when this show came out, you realize that would have premiered at Halloween if you were doing these once per week and it was supposed to come out now. Why? Why did you, what? Yeah, it was odd. It was very, very odd. I am curious, though, speaking of like the structure of this and everything, I am curious if they will get a season 2, because they mentioned it in the first episode, they were making the show in 2018. Meaning they were making it before HBO Max was a thing. And this is a Warner property. This is something from Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers, HBO, owned by the exact same person, so all the Warner Brothers stuff is being picked up and moved over to HBO Max. But because they made this thing before HBO Max was a thing, does Hulu get to hold on to the contract? Like, is it one of those things where they sign like a 5-year deal? Or is it one of those things where they get to hold on to it as long as they keep making it? Or is it one of those where every single season they have to go back in and renegotiate? Because if they got to go in and renegotiate every single season and this thing is a hit, you know HBO Max is going to go, no, that's ours now. You bring that back to us. By the way, I know that Tiny Toons is also getting a reboot now because this thing did so well. Is that on HBO Max?
I haven't heard anything about it.
Okay, because I want to say it's going to be on HBO Max. Which, by the way, if this got a reboot, if Tiny Toons is getting a reboot, Freakazoid has to be next, right? Because Freakazoid, out of those three, that was easily my favorite when I was a kid.
Freakazoid already made a guest appearance on Teen Titans Go.
Guest appearance is not a reboot.
I know, but it's like, it makes me wonder, like, if there is a Freakazoid reboot,
is that them testing the water?
It's like, what streaming channel would it be on?
Oh, well, Teen Titans Go is Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network is also part of HBO Max. So it would definitely have to be HBO Max, which would make sense because HBO Max, you hear HBO Max and you instantly think, okay, that's more of an adult thing over there. Freakazoid was definitely, like, I don't mean adult as in, like, they swore or anything, but, like, it's the one that had story structure. It's the one that had, like, multi-part episode plots, and it's the one that definitely made way more adult references than any of the other shows. So, yeah, Freakazoid would definitely fit way more over there on that streaming service. Yeah, I would absolutely, man, I would love to get a Freakazoid remake, reboot, whatever. I'm trying to think of how many of those actors are still around. I think that most of the ones that I know of who are on there. Ed Asner, he's still around, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, he's still around. By the way, Ed Asner, great guy. Yeah, I think he is, because I remember I was following him on Twitter not that long ago. Yeah, and it's weird to me that Ed Asner, you know, he does so many, like, comic book properties and stuff. Like, he does the voice acting for so many, like, comic book properties. It's weird when I started following him around on Twitter. I was like, oh, he's actually, like, a big comic book nerd. And it's crazy to me thinking about when I was a kid, growing up with him on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which, by the way, I'm not that old, but I watched it on Nick at Night when I was a kid, so I watched it on reruns. But he was the big, stern, serious guy, and he was the big, like, dramatic, serious figure there on that show. And it's so weird to me to think about all these years later. It's like, no, he's just a big comic book nerd. Like, he's just like, he enjoys them funny books. It's great to see that. Yeah, so anything else we want to talk about, unless we want to go, like, our favorite episodes or things like that?
Gee, I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, when there's going to be a second season, this season did a Halloween special. I wonder if there's going to be, like, a Christmas special.
Christmas special? Well, it depends on, like, when they decide.
Yeah, that's true.
All stuff here, which, what did I just want to say? Yeah, how do you feel about the new characters in here? Because they definitely introduced some new recurring characters. There was, like I said, the little alien guy with the little girl. They definitely want that to be a recurring thing. I can see that being alright, but to me that's too similar to Pinky and the Brain. It's a tiny little thing that no one takes seriously.
I was thinking, like, more like Buttons and Mindy, because you have this little kid who's, like, unintentionally, like,
I can definitely see that. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But to me, it's like, this is something that's trying to take over the world, a little tiny thing trying to take over the world, and I'm just kind of like, you already have that. That's Pinky and the Brain, man. The other big recurring character, we already mentioned the incredible gnome that lives in someone's mouth. I'm like, that's a one-time gig. That's a one-time joke.
Yeah, I feel like most of the new stuff will just be like one-offs. And like, depending on how well they do with the audience, they might bring some of them back.
But there's definitely one character who they want to be a new foil for the Animaniacs, which is the big bodybuilder guy.
Oh, yeah, him.
Which, it's so weird to me that that guy is just an Arnold Schwarzenegger parody, and this entire show is them pointing out, like, yeah, well, we can't make references back to the 90s anymore, now we're making topical references, and I'm like, an Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilder character is totally a 90s reference. It's so weird that that is your new recurring foil. But I did like him in here. I do have to say, like...
Yeah, I kind of wish, like, there would be, like, more enemies, like...
Yes,
but, like,
I completely agree with that.
Antagonists for the Warner siblings.
I really got excited when they introduced that Hunter guy in here, because I looked at him and I was just like, that guy is another great foil you can do. And at the end of the episode, they basically turn and go, oh yeah, guess what? That guy was just Chicken Boo in disguise the entire time. And so now he's just shoveled away and they can never use him again. And I'm just like... that guy would have been great! That's a great, like, when you want a foil for your big Warner Brothers cartoon character, you want to be some guy who takes themselves way too seriously, so that way the Animaniacs or Bugs Bunny or whoever it is that you're getting for your animated thing can come in here and just completely, like, mess with them at every turn.
It's like, you know what I would like to see? Like, I would like to see, like, the Animaniacs, like, torment, like, some sort of, like, YouTuber parody guy, or like a streamer parody, or a gamer parody.
It's very weird they didn't have that. When you point that out, it's like, that makes 1,000% sense, and it just really feels like something that they would do. It feels like, and it wouldn't even have to be like it wouldn't even have to be like a whole episode. It could be like a little like 2-minute skit of someone streaming and like the Animaniacs in the background messing with them or something. Like something short. Like I'm thinking about, we wanted them to do more experimental stuff this season. One thing that popped into my mind right now was that one that it was like the security camera footage of the vampire. That was so good. That was genius. I thought that skit was amazing, and it was super experimental. And I loved that they just came up with an idea like that, and they executed it so well. You talk about them like messing with like a streamer type character. It's like, yeah, that's exactly how they should do that.
Another thing I was thinking is like a Five Nights at Freddy's parody or something like that.
That would be a good one for them to do, like a Halloween type thing. Yeah, like if they want to do more topical things, I can absolutely see that being a parody.
Or Fortnite parody is like, there's like so many like references they could easily
There's so many modern day things, and I know, like, us listening to this off right now, a lot of people are going like, I don't want them to try and make this too modern and anything, and I know that when you hear, like, something is coming back from the old days, and they're now going to, like, bring it into the new era, you're always afraid that it's like, alright, this character's going to be flossing or something like that. It's like, oh god, I don't want to see anything like that. But again, the Animaniacs, they were about poking fun at culture.
Yeah, they were poking fun of whatever was popular at the time.
Absolutely.
So
it's like,
it makes sense if
they kind of have to do that. So it would make sense. And yeah, it's like, well, I don't want somebody like referencing these things in this show. Like, the Animaniacs are masters at taking that thing that you want to be taken down a notch and taking it down a notch. Yeah, I think that you're right. Like, anything topical like that, I would totally be in favor of. But yeah, I was talking about the big muscle-bound guy. I actually really ended up enjoying him. In fact, he had my favorite joke of the entire season. I legitimately, like, burst out laughing at this thing. And when she was talking about the Olympics and says,
it's like they said Greek games, I guess Olympics is like...
Olympics is trademark, you can't use that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he was talking about that, he said, you have to get out of here by this time, because then the urban decay sets in. And I love that, because for anybody who knows anything about the Olympics, they wreck whatever city they're in. Whatever city the Olympics go to, like 2 weeks after it leaves, it is nothing but just the entire city is trashed. And I love that they made a joke about that, but what's funnier is just how this exaggerated character becomes overly serious when he talks about it, because it is such a terrifying thing to just think about, like, yes, we will come in here and celebrate the Greek games, and then we will destroy everything in this city when we leave. It's like, I just said, it cracked me up so hard. But yeah, I thought that entire, like, the Olympics bit, I thought that was great, because, again, the Olympics, it's nothing but, like, moment for the Animaniacs to be the Animaniacs. Next game, moment for the Animaniacs to be the Animaniacs. Next game, moment for the Animaniacs to be the Animaniacs. But then they brought him back, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of like a one-time only character. They brought him back then for that final episode with the Hindenburg Cola. Them running around trying to catch the soda with him chasing after them. I was like, this guy is perfect to be that guy that chases after the Animaniacs. It works so well. Also, really glad that they brought Dr. Scratch and Sniff back.
Yeah.
It was weird to me that they didn't bring him back. I do like that they, like, I know there's going to be some characters that people are like, well, how come this character didn't get to return? It's like, oh, because some characters, like, listen, we talk about...
Some characters are a product of their time.
Some characters are products of their time. And I know there are people out there who are fans of the Goodfeathers. When we talk about characters that probably should return, the Goodfeathers is the one that comes to my mind, because that was a parody of Goodfellas. Man, that thing is over 2 decades old at this point. It's like, you kind of have to let the Goodfeathers just kind of like,
yeah,
they're gone at this point. And like, it wasn't even like a subtle parody of Goodfellas. It was literally just Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Ray Liotta. But what was the one that I was gonna talk about? Yeah, but like, Hello Nurse. Hello Nurse is just walking sex appeal, and there was nothing else to her in there. It's like, yeah, that's not very clever, man, and you can just kind of like...
But I like that he mentions, like, I should have joined...
The way that they get rid of her is so good!
I should, like, he mentioned,
I should have joined Doctors Without Borders along with Hello Nurse. I love that, like, this character who is nothing but walking sex appeal, the way they write her off is by going, yeah, she's the one who actually cared about medical stuff. I love that turn there. That is the best way they could have written that character.
By the way, Doctors Without Borders is a very good charity. You should all donate when you can.
Well, yeah, everybody knows that. What was the other one that I was going to talk about in here? Yes, we were also talking about the newer characters in here. I also really like the new head of the studio. I really like her because the other guy was this paranoid guy who was just, oh god, we gotta get the Warners out here, just constantly like swaying, just a huge mess. I like that she is the exact opposite. She is just completely serious.
And she's just like not putting up with their shit.
But I like that, I talk about how the best characters to be foils to the Animaniacs are the characters who take themselves too seriously, because then the Animaniacs didn't mess with them. I like that they went with this character and they were like, no, she is so cartoonishly serious, she's not even bothered by them. They're not even a blip on her radar. And I like that adds a completely new dynamic to this. And there's that episode in which they're trying to figure out who stole the donuts, which, by the way, you want to talk about them parodying modern day culture. Them going to the hipster donut place.
Yes.
I love that bit, and I say that as someone who goes to hipster donut places. I love that. That line from the clerk after she pokes her head out and like they didn't pay her in money, and she pokes her head out with the thing that they paid her with and said, the only reason I'm accepting this is because my super supportive dad gave me this job and I really want to make him mad for no reason at all. I was like, whoever wrote that line was working some things out. Whoever wrote that line was definitely like looking back at their past like, oh yeah, I did act that way when I was a teenager, but I'm gonna poke fun at that now. By the way, interesting thing to point out about the writers, I noticed almost every single skit had two writers, and almost every single skit not only had two writers, but it was always one man, one woman.
Gender balanced, pronoun
neutral, ethnically diverse. Yeah, I was like, that's kind of like, oh, okay. Like, it's a very small thing, and, I'm not going to come in here and say, like, oh, well, the reason why that's important is because of this thing and that thing. Is like, oh, man, good for Animaniacs for, like, providing more job opportunities in a market where it's very hard for women to get into, writing gigs. Very good for you guys.
Another character they brought back that I'm glad they did was Ralph, the security guard.
Yes, I'm so glad Ralph came back. Ralph was always like, you need that guy who chases the animals.
Yeah.
Ralph's
that bumbling idiot that we all love.
Yes, he's great in there, yes.
Oh, hey, Peach, there's our own little Animaniac.
Yes. There's that moment in which the big muscle guy refers to them as some kind of little puppy things. And like, I literally saw you turn your head and look at our dog when they said that.
Hi, Peach.
Going in for kisses, sure.
Yes.
Well, anything else that you want to say about this?
Well, looking forward to the next season.
I definitely think there's going to be a next season because we're definitely seeing a lot of buzz for this going on the internet. The question is, will it be on Hulu? And if it's not on Hulu because they moved over to HBO Max, is there something in their contract where it's like, well, if you move to another house, then you can't do anything for 2 years. Like, you have to go on a 2-year-long break between moving from this place to another place. And yeah. I have no doubt there will be more. The question is when.
Yeah, and where.
And where, yes, exactly. But yeah, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Trying to think of the next thing we're going to talk about. Wonder Woman is actually coming out. This month there will actually be things for us to talk about. Wonder Woman is coming out on HBO Max, and Soul, I think it's called.
Yeah, it's going to come out on Christmas, so that'd be, I guess, our Christmas special
That'll be our Christmas special. Yeah, we'll be able to talk about that then. Also, next year, again, I have no idea when movies will be returning, so I don't know what's going to happen. Pete. I have no idea what's going to happen with the post-Geekout reaction next year. But I did make everybody a promise on Twitter that I would review a certain large thing. So, because I made that promise, I kind of have to do that next year. So, we're going to have like a big, 14-part long thing coming next year. I will. You're not even going to be there for that because I'm not going to make you sit through that.
No, but I'll be there to for you to talk to about the reviews. Or
maybe, I don't even know that. It might just be me up here with cue cards going, this thing, next episode, now this episode, moving along, because it might not even be a 14-part long thing. It might just be an hour-long rapid fire thing.
Explaining this in under an hour or something like that.
Something like that. But yeah, thank you guys very much for tuning in. The dog is balancing on both of our legs, so I'm not going to move. I'm just going to say bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Boo, 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 boo. Iris out on Peach.